deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth is deeper than music, deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music, deeper than music.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Deeper Than Music Radio. Behind every great song is a greater story. And we also expand the show to also include actors and also producers and directors. And today we have a very special treat. I feel like what they're doing is resurrecting something that I haven't seen in a while. I might age myself, but we have a movie coming out, and it's highly anticipated. Newsday and then also USA Today has said that this is one of the top 20 movies to stream. So it's in the vein of whodunit movies. And if you don't know what a whodunit movie is, I gotta say Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer. So ladies and gentlemen, we have producer Krystal Vayda of Quarzo Studios, and we also have the director Jacob Johnston and also Calderon, one of the actors in the movie. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the cast and crew of Dreamcatchers. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, it's so good to be here.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty good. So I want to say, my first question is, since we're talking about horror movies and slashers, what are your guys' favorite slasher horror movie?
I think for me personally, I obviously you mentioned Scream, and I think that's such it's a great slasher movie, not because of simply it being a slasher movie, but really it was the reintroduction of slasher movies. You know, we really got stuck in the 80s in slasher movies that were kind of all based around holidays. There was like this phase of just like slasher movies that was kind of oddly, slated around holidays, and when we got into the 90s, it was like this reinvigoration into the genre. And I think for me, that's why it resonates so well. Like I'm a sucker for, like 80s fare, April Fool's Day and Nightmare on Elm Street Final Exam and New Year's Eve and all of these great, kind of run-of-the-mill slashers. But I think what I love about Scream was it really was this, for modern audiences who didn't know those movies, it was like, here's this genre and finding new ways. And then, that sparked urban legend, and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, yeah, urban legend.
Valentine, and all of these really great slashers of the late 90s, ensemble slashers, which was, I know, something that we were really inspired by, going into Dreamcatcher.
So, Krystal, you want to give us your favorite slasher movie?
You know what? It depends what day it is, but right now I think I'm a big. I think I know What You Did Last Summer will always capture my heart in a way that's like, I just love it. Like everything about it. I love pop culture, and I know that Jacob and I are best friends at this point, along with our brother, who is my producing partner, and we just get along, and we really truly love all things pop culture. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is. Jacob always says that this is a love letter to the 90s, and that's exactly what we wanted to do, and with the modern twist on it. So, to answer a very long question short, I would say I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream.
So I had to put out a cheer because you said a love letter to the 90s, and those movies, that's like all 90s all day. So I definitely appreciate that. And what about you, Al? What's your favorite slasher movie?
I'm gonna have to go with Scream, and only because as a young child, I was always afraid of the dark, and like scary movies always scared me. And what I loved about Scream is I actually watched all of them over the course of like my winter break when I was in 11th grade with one of my best friends from high school. And what I loved about it was that it didn't leave you with nightmares. It was like it was almost satirical in the sense of like it was played in such a sense of like everybody knew what it was. And it was what I love about movies like that about Scream is that it's like they're not, the characters don't take themselves seriously, but the circumstances are still high enough where we believe that they're in danger, we believe that they're scared, but also as the viewer, I'm not going to go to sleep like with this nightmare of this person chasing me and like about to kill me. It's almost just like, oh, like this feels satirical. This feels actually this doesn't feel like your classic horror movie, if you will. And I think that was my perfect introduction to it, because then I actually viewed horror movies and slashers a little bit with more of an open mind as opposed to like fear.
And you know what? You bring up a good point, because even in those slasher movies, they were sarcastic. It's certain like, look, you're gonna die, and you're kind of sarcastic. So.
What I love about it too is it opened up the avenue for scary movies, and I love those because it also it let you look at that, and it took the slasher and it made fun of it even more than what it already was. So it kind of allowed you to look at it through a different lens.
And Wes Craven, you know, he did such a he was so good. Mm-hmm. He just did such a great job of finding the comedy in it, and Jacob did a phenomenal job writing the script and finding the beats, because if it's always here, and here, you know, it's like, even with the, you know, originally I think our movie was 2 hours 10 minutes, Jacob, and we had to trim it down. We had to, you know, trim it down quite a bit, and it's a really collaborative process, because he's, you know, he was just like, no, you know, because we have to have the character development, and it's just like, you can't start cutting it too much to where you don't find those moments, and you don't find those funny moments that's going to take it from some serious stuff is going on, and then hold on a second, at the end of the day, just everything's going to be okay right now. Yeah. And you know, we haven't seen, at least I feel like I haven't seen like a really cool ensemble that has really caught my attention. I have a really short attention span, and I get sick of seeing the same actors get cast over and over and over. So I'm really excited, not being biased at all, but I'm pumped, because it's a new writer-director that's being, you know, really thrown out into the world, and then there's a fresh faces of talent they've all been around, but they're getting that platform to showcase their abilities, and I'm really excited, because it's a really hot, cool, trendy cast, and I'm a fan. Believe it or not, I'm a fan of her.
So, no, you can go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, going off what Krystal said, you know, we see these trends in horror films, and like the reintroduction of the 80s, and, you know, with stuff like Stranger Things, like there's a nostalgic element that is being fed into, you know, the modern audiences. And what's exciting, you know, we get these filmmakers like Christopher Landon with his film Happy Death Day, or Nia DaCosta's upcoming Candyman, where they're taking, you know, tropes of old slasher films, and they're finding really interesting ways to reinvent them. And like, I think that's kind of where we're at now, where it's like, you can prey on the nostalgia to a certain extent, but you kind of have to find a new way, you know, with Candyman, you know, I haven't seen it, but you know, the commentary that's going to be there, you know, with Happy Death Day, it's like the trope of Groundhog Day, but reinvented with a slasher element. Like, I think you do have to find ways to take the genre and, I don't want to say elevate it, but rather look at it through a different perspective for modern audiences to really be excited about it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's otherwise you kind of just get lost in the shuffle of genre film. And you know, I think what was kind of exciting about doing this film was finding that perspective and that lens to try to see, like, well, what message can we convey, and like what angle can we go in that doesn't just feel like we're trying to do some, you know, we're just treading the same water as before.
So I got a question. So we brought up a whole bunch of, and you guys speak to like nostalgia, because I'm not gonna lie, when Wonder Woman, they said Wonder Woman 1984, I was like, 1984 childhood, I'm all game. I want to see nostalgic stuff. So what was the challenge? Like, how did you guys approach, because we talk about the slasher movies of the 90s. What was the approach to bring that to a new audience and then modernize it? Like, how did you approach that? What was the thought process?
I think Krystal. It was, well, in working with Krystal, like when I met with Krystal and Brandon originally, their parameters for what this movie were to be were pretty slim. It was like ensemble, you know, a very, you know, kind of an homage to Wes Craven, this early night Janie Blanks, like these directors who were making these very ensemble-esque films of the 90s, and finding a modern spin on that. Mm-hmm. And that was, and then the other was they wanted it to really dabble in music in some way. And so that was really the parameters, and the rest of it was like a sandbox I could just kind of, delve into and say, like, this could be anything I want it to be. And that was really exciting, because I think you rarely get the opportunity where the narrative parameters are, distinct, but they're not just like, they don't just make you feel weighted down. Like there's a level of discovery you can really have in a story where it's like, yeah, we needed to check these boxes, but then you can just kind of do whatever you want. And I feel like that's the best kind of creative process all around. And it's an environment we really fostered, not just through development, but also through production and into post on this.
And Krystal, any thoughts on like how to merge, the thought process behind merging the old, I hate to say 90s is old, but it
was 30 years ago. It does feel old.
Oh my goodness.
I think we knew what we wanted. Our soul. We've been developing projects with Jacob since 2014. So the taste relationship was already there. He knows everything that, like, we just know, like, we flow. And I always say it's like a French braid. So at first it's me, my brother Brandon, and Jacob. So it's like, a regular braid is only not strands of hair, but and then as you develop the world, in all seriousness, as you develop the world and the team gets bigger, then you have to start pulling in, and the French braid gets bigger. So I think having the core sort of what we wanted, we just clicked on that like right away. I mean, Jacob really just hit it out of the park, like straight away. And I have a very hard time reading scripts. I'm very slow at it. And it was a page turner for me. And I was like sitting on the edge of my seat, and I was so excited. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then even more yes. And I think that that's a huge compliment, because again, like with the society and everybody's attention span being so limited these days, I think it's a compliment to his writing. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to have cool friends in the script where it's like, there's something in there for everyone. And I'm talking like, if you're attracted, if you can either vibe with them, you're going through some of the similar storylines. And that was really important to us, but specifically Jacob, is making sure that, like, look, we're gonna throw a party, we're gonna have a lot of fun, we're gonna have some cool music in there, and we're gonna touch on all things pop culture, but we're also gonna have really difficult conversations that would have been considered taboo in the previous decades. It's like, you know what? No, it's 2021. It's exciting times. We can talk about things. Things are being celebrated and appreciated. So I feel like we're really lucky. We're really lucky to have a cool story with deep character driven storylines.
Well, and I think part of that, and I'm sure Al can attest to this, is like the casting process was very much intrinsically tied to what this movie was going to be.
Okay.
Like, and that came from like trying to, not only audition lots and lots and lots of people, but mix and matches, finding who's talking to who. And I'm sure Al can speak to this, but like, even for him, we had him audition for like 3 different characters, at one setting, like to just try to find different perspectives and different angles for different things. So the chemistry of the cast felt really unique. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Al.
Yeah, no, as an actor too, I think like I used to have really bad audition anxiety. So like, because I wanted to be perfect and I wanted to do a great job, and you want everybody to like you. And I think that's like the trap that I've fallen into being an actor, is like, you want everybody to like you. You want that job. You want everything like that. But I remember going into the audition, or my callback rather, and I remember when I was talking to the team, and I remember saying, when I read this, they asked me if I read the script, and I read it because I was so invested in it, and I was like, I really want to be a part of this project. Like it like almost became like, I felt like I was already a part of it at that point when I was reading it. But I said it felt like that I was playing The Sims. And then I was like kind of pulling. It's like, it almost feels like that your imagination controls all these characters like on the page, And so as an actor, the feeling of being able to bring that to life, but like also in a room, you don't get to play 3 different roles. You don't get all the time. You don't get to have the creative team look at you and go, oh my God, we love what you did. Can you try doing this part? And like kind of doing it on the spot in the most exciting sort of adrenaline rush kind of way. And I think that was one of the exciting parts about it that drew me into it, was I felt like I was collaborating with them before I even had the job. And you know, I was born in the 90s. So,
okay.
So nostalgia for me feels like 2000. However, I can still, you know, grab those nostalgic moments of what it felt like to be a part of the cast in that respect. But I really do think that, the audition process was just that. It felt like a workshop of this awesome, exciting, you know, new way to tell this story.
Awesome. And so we've talked a lot about the film. Can Jacob and Krystal, from a creator's perspective, can you give us the synopsis? And then Al, from like, can you tell us, just give us a synopsis of your character, like, you know, who you are. Give us a little bit, because we talk so much about the film, and I know listeners are like, all right, I need to hear something. So can you give us a synopsis?
Yeah, I always just say it's the most simplistic version. It's about 2 sisters who, with their friends, go to this kind of underground music festival, dance music festival. And while at the festival, something really horrible happens, and the rest of the film follows the aftermath of this tragic event. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it just so happens to also introduce the idea that there is a mass killer seemingly hunting down these kids who survived the event. But more, you know, to me, more so, it's about the aftermath of grief. It's about the aftermath of trauma and kind of how that follows you. And yes, you have the extraneous circumstances of a mass killer, but when you peel those layers away, it's really about how people deal with grief.
And we had a lot of fun playing with the whodunit, because in our movie, even when we're doing PR for the film, nobody knows anything, so anybody's a suspect, anybody's a victim, and we wanted it that way. So it's really fun to kind of sit back right now and enjoy this process of it all, is because we're the only ones that have seen this movie, I think, 1,000,000 times, Jacob. But yeah, again, going back, touching on you know, emotional and sort of like touching on like what young adults have to go through. And I think it is a little bit different these days, because we do have social media, and with media and information asked to us, you know, what we're experiencing and Al's generation is experiencing is far different than what my mom's or my grandma's strictly off of technology. So, I mean, our government can't even rewrite laws fast enough, because things are just happening so fast. So I think in that sense, we had a lot of fun just touching on all things.
Hey, you know what? You know, it's pretty awesome, because I was thinking like the technology aspect from back then to now. And could you imagine? Like, so it's like, can you imagine with the technology, social media, Scream? So that I like that. As you were saying,
hit me up on my pager.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
but hey, Scream 4 was what, 2011? So it wasn't like that crazy.
Yeah, but they still had to find their way around cell phones. I think the big thing is it's a tough world to live in, and it's one of the reasons we kind of embraced it by saying, like, let's go EDM. You know, the EDM movement in the last, I would say, 10 years has really blown up. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it went from like 90s dance music. You had CC Music Factory, and then suddenly you've got these huge DJs. Like, it really was this transition from like 90s dance music. The early 2000s was like, let's focus on, you know, kind of pop, just like pop music that had some EDM influences. Yeah. And then you started to get this introduction of real, you know, these superstars like Deadmau5 and Marshmello and Daft Punk and like, yeah, like these people who were monikers of, you know, the industry. They represented EDM music, and, you know, now that has spread to not just 5 artists, but hundreds of artists in a worldwide sense. And so, we could lean into that technology aspect where it's like, we're acknowledging that this is a cultural movement and that this is important and that this is a zeitgeist thing, without getting lost in the semantics of like, let's tweet about it. Because I think that those elements then take you out. Like, if you make the movie 99% referential, 10 years from now, it won't make sense, because
very true. Yeah,
people will watch it and they'll be like, that's not relevant. Like, you can watch Scream and go, oh, I remember when we had landlines, but you're not watching it feeling like you're watching someone on a Conestoga wagon going down the Oregon Trail. There's not a level of like, you have to buy in that this is, we're milking cows and churning butter. It's a landline.
Like with Jason movies, some of them are really dated, and it's just like, I imagine people that watched them that that wasn't in that era, kind of like, I can't relate. Like, what is that?
Why didn't you just leave? Yeah. Oh, you're riding a Vespa into the camp? Like, get in your car and leave. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's if you make it too dated, you can alienate your audience. Like, there is something so fun. Like, those Jason movies are still so fun to watch because there is a nostalgic element. There is we love being scared and thrilled, and we're not sitting there thinking about the semantics of why someone's cell phone doesn't work. Like, that's where when the movie goes awry, I think.
It's like, because with the 80s movies and you brought up the fact that people were more relatable back in the 90s slashers, but I always felt like with the 80s movies, there was like nobody there. Like, you just isolated, and where did the town go? And I feel like now somebody would be like, why didn't they just call an Uber? You know what I mean?
Just get out of there. What are you doing?
So, Al, can you give us a synopsis? Who are you? Like, what is your character? And just a little high-level overview of...
No spoilers, Al.
Listen, I'm not gonna give anything away as to who I am. I want people to watch it and kind of discover who we all are as it goes, because I think as we were talking about it being an ensemble piece, I think that's the beauty of this kind of film with ensemble anything. It's like, you care about these characters, so it's like, I don't even want to introduce myself right now before you get to be introduced to me, because then I feel like it just kind of like removes the excitement of like, who are these people?
Okay, perfect.
Which is again, which I think is something beautifully written by Jacob. Is I think that he takes you on the journey of like, you immediately fall in love with who these people are, whether you think that you like them or you don't. And what works out really well with these whodunit movies, and back to Krystal's point of like, anyone's a suspect. So, it's like, you can watch it 3 seconds in and be like, oh, it's him. Or like, oh, it's me. So I think that once you meet certain characters along the way, you may start to create your own version of the story. And then it kind of unfolds at the end, and it kind of gives you like a moment of realization almost. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about the flow of how we meet all of these characters, and we meet and we meet their through lines, whether it's for 5 minutes or whether it's for the whole hour and a half. So, you know what I mean? So it kind of like toys with that. And I don't know, I could be suspect, so I don't want to.
Hey, I gotta respect that.
Those movies, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because that was the whole thrill of and that's hence whodunit. Like, it's like, you watch the movie, I think this, but like, hey, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, so I watched Ready or Not a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like it kind of falls along that line where it was like, it's almost like, I'm so glad I didn't know what the movie was about before I went into it. And I kind of like, that's what I love about our movie too, is like, kind of the structure of it, but like, you don't really know what it's about until you actually like get a taste of it.
So
and then we feel like we're I think we're really excited, but just when you think you know, then you don't.
That's my favorite part of these kinds of movies.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing the movie. I mean, we've just went down memory lane, and it's like, hey, this is the newer. This is for I wouldn't say millennial Gen Z generation, but it's for people that didn't get the experience in the 90s. So reinvigorated, and I can't wait to see it. So what do you guys want the viewers to get out of this movie? Coming out of the movie, what do you want them to get? Jacob, do you want to be the first to answer that question?
I think more than anything, my own hope is that they're surprised. I feel like anytime I've been asked this question, it's always just traced back to that word. And I know it's really a crude statement, but it's not the surprise of the jump scares, but rather I think we go into these movies anticipating a certain journey. Yeah. And I hope that the viewer's experience is surprising in the sense of, well, I didn't expect it to be that. And sure, that could be divisive. It could be very terrible, or it could be very great. And maybe there's no middle ground. And we can't predict that. Like when you make a film, it's really up to the audience. After it's out of our hands, it's into the audience's hands and how they choose to accept it or love it or not. Like it's really going to take on a life of its own. But in my own opinion, I really hope that it's a surprising film because of the character development, because of the exploration of identity and sisterhood and family in general. I hope that there is a level of conversation where you can talk about it afterwards and say, like, I didn't get this, or I did get this, or I was excited about this, or I related to this person. And I think if we can move that needle in some way, like, that's really exciting to me. And yeah, of course, we want them to be thrilled, right? We want them to be excited. We want like a couple jump scares and stuff along the way, but like that goes without saying. That's just baked into the genre. But if we can have some sort of social commentary, if we can have some sort of conversation spurred from it, that's what's really invigorating and exciting to me.
Yeah, I think that was just perfect, Jacob, what you just said. It sort of take everybody. I encourage everybody to blast it because it's an audio and visual experience. And I hope you put down your phone for an hour and 35 minutes because I know people get distracted. And really pay attention. It's a smart film. And if you don't pay attention, you're going to cheat yourself out of something. It's so fast because Jacob's fast. He's witty, and it's like, you know what? It's like watching a quick tennis match. Don't take your eye off the ball because you're gonna miss this whole thing. And then the takeaway would be, I hope that people can talk about this, and I hope that it encourages people to continue creating conversation, specifically difficult conversation.
Mm-hmm. And how?
I don't know if I can eloquently match what okay? Because Jacob, I think, is one of the wittiest people that I've ever met my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And so and just a talented human, even through conversation. And like I think that's kind of the motif of what we were talking about, is just obviously starting conversations. But I think also as a millennial myself, I think, I'd love for it to just be this newfound appreciation and love for the slasher movie again. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I think that there's something so fun about it. Because I personally don't, I'm not like a horror movie junkie, but I'll definitely take a thriller and a slasher any day. Mm-hmm. So I think that just like creating that dialogue, and it is such a deeper meaning than slasher too. You really feel for these people. You really feel like that you can bond with these people, and I think that that's something that I'd love for people to take away with, is that like you kind of made friends on screen because we've been so isolated, especially during time. Is like these interviews are through the phone, where normally we'd probably get together and talk about it. Where it's like, I hope that you can find camaraderie in all of these people and kind of have compassion and sort of look at the bigger picture of what this means, and I love music, and I miss Coachella, so maybe like, we're back at Coachella too, if you blast it like Krystal said.
We've missed a lot of concerts because of the pandemic. Lastly, Friday, right? The debuts. Where can people see the movie? Where is it going to be out?
Well, I'll be doing a one-man show in New York City on the corner of Broadway and 47th Street. I'll be just doing it one man. I'll play all roles. Please come by.
I'm the spotlight guy.
Yeah. Al's gonna be there doing the lights. No, but we're gonna be on pretty much. And Krystal, you'll probably be able to speak to this more than me. But every on-demand platform out there: Amazon Prime, iTunes, Fandango now, Vudu. I don't know them all, but
so
everywhere.
every streaming platform. So people, the comfort of your own home.
March 5th, everybody take out your wallets and support independent filmmakers.
But yeah, pretty much every PVO. Al's ready for a copy.
I got it. I'm ready to buy it.
We've all bought our own copies because we didn't get free ones. So please go out and watch it. But also we have also said that this movie is something you should watch with your friends. Like watch in a group. Get it. Obviously, be safe. We don't want to encourage social distancing. It's a great wear a mask or get with people who've been tested. But I think a film like this is a wonderful opportunity to bring together people and just see what different perspectives find in the character and in the story. And maybe you do it digitally. Maybe you watch it and then you jump on a Zoom and talk about it that way. But I think however you need to do it, I do, part of the formula that we did from the beginning with Krystal and Brandon was talking about it's a movie you watch with your friends, whether you have a couple drinks and you watch the film or, if you're a connoisseur of other recreational things, just do things that come together and watch the film and see how it plays for you, and then have a conversation about it.
It's so funny just how the pandemic just changed everything. Because I'm imagining with a group of people, but I'm like, you know what? You could have a virtual chat afterwards, virtual discussion, Zoom. I like that. Dreamcatcher. There we go.
Dreamcatcher, the virtual Zoom party.
That's the sequel.
This is the sequel right now.
Right here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the cast and crew. Krystal Vayda, and we have Jacob Johnston and also Calderon of Dreamcatcher. Thank you for taking the time to just talk about this movie. I can't wait to watch it. Just the nostalgia, just all that we talked about. So any last words before we close out another great interview here on Deeper Than Music Radio?
It's such an honor to be here. I love that we were able to be on your show, especially because you also deal with music. And so much, obviously, is in this movie is tied to music. So to be able to be a part of your show that dabbles in both, film and music and entertainment in general is such an honor and so exciting for us to kind of straddle both of those genres in an exciting way. Thanks for having us.
Oh, not a problem. Anytime. And Krystal and Al, any last words before we end this great episode?
I just feel like it was lovely to meet you, and we're a guest on your show, Marquivas. And I really appreciate you taking the time to care and ask these really intelligent questions. We really appreciate it. We're very proud of this, and it's an exciting time for everybody.
Oh, not a problem. Anytime. Now in anticipation of watching this movie, I got to go back to the 90s slasher movies.
Yeah. Give it a quick rewatch. They're kind of long, so maybe make a couple nights worth.
Yeah. And now, any last parting words before we close the show?
I'm really grateful that I'm able to be a part of this, this film, and obviously, as an actor, the dream is to constantly be working on, and not just working, but working on things that you care about, and working with people that you really care about and that care about you, and these two people that are sitting here with me, I'm so grateful that they, asked me to come on and talk about it with you guys, and just really share this experience again, because we shot it a little while ago, you know what I mean? So it's like a little reunion in a sense too, where it feels kind of like we just did it again. So
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Deeper Than Music Radio, cast, crew, Dreamcatcher, Friday on all streaming platforms. Rent, buy, add it to your slasher collection. And I'm Marquivas signing off for Deeper Than Music. Thank you for listening.